Amazon Prime delivery truck gets stuck in a sinkhole in the Villages. A restaurant in the Villages secures a long-term lease for an outdoor venue. A villager's son was arrested after it crashed into a pole with a gun. Developers ready to sell off amenities in the southern end of the Villages. The Villages drops a video with new details about the newest section of the Villages. Villager caught urinating in a hotel parking lot blames his prostate problems. A serial golf cart thief avoids prison time after multiple thefts in the Villages. Judge allows villager to return home after alleged attack on his wife in the Villages. The Villages issues reminder about pool rules as snowbirds return. A villager was sentenced after a strange incident at Hobby Lobby. No holes in one this week. Letters to the editor. This and more coming up. Thanks everybody for coming to this week's updated news here in the Villages. The developer is ready to sell off amenities in the southern end of the Villages. This past week, the Sumter Landing Community Development District approved hiring PFM Consulting to determine a price for the amenities located in Community Development Districts 12 and 13. CDD 12 includes the village of Finney, DeLuna, DeSoto, Linden, and Monarch Grove. CDD 13 includes the village of Bradford, Case and Hammock, Chitty Chatty, Citrus Grove, Hawkins, Richmond, St. Catherine, and St. John's. The recreation facilities to be purchased using residents' amenity money include 5 executive golf courses, 28 swimming pools, recreation centers, pitch and putt courses, softball fields, and dog parks. The sale is expected to close in February. Remember that sinkhole we reported, I think it was last week? An Amazon Prime delivery truck got stuck in a sinkhole Monday afternoon in the Villages. The driver had been making deliveries at about 2 p.m. when his van got stuck in the sinkhole at the intersection of Richmond Drive and Tally Ridge Drive in the village of Bel Air. His front passenger side wheel got stuck in the hole and he could not get out. He reportedly made several attempts to try to maneuver the blue van out of the hole but was unsuccessful. He had been scheduled to make numerous deliveries and was relieved by the arrival of personnel from the village's public safety department. Firefighters enlisted the help of Kling Towing, which brought in a large piece of equipment with a crane. Sumter County Sheriff's deputies were also on the scene. The sinkhole opened up in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Milton. It had been coned off by yellow tape. However, villagers who had been keeping a nervous eye on the sinkhole told villagesnews.com that the yellow tape had disappeared and the lone indicator of the sinkhole was a single cone placed by the side of the road by Community Watch. Yeah, I imagine he probably freaked out trying to get out of there. He didn't want to call anybody because I know as a driver, professional driver, CDL class and everything, that he's going to get cited by his company for that. A villager who had been drinking and was causing a disturbance was arrested after neighbors called 911. 3 separate 911 calls were placed on the night of October 16th, leading to the arrest of 58-year-old Andrew John Roberts at his home at 808 Camellia Court on the historic side of the Villages. When officers arrived at the residence, they found Roberts outside standing by the golf cart, according to the arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department. The Massachusetts native became verbally aggressive with police and headed for his garage. Roberts tightened his arms and pulled away when officers attempted to detain him. He told officers he had taken his regular prescribed medicine along with 3 shots of alcohol. He began throwing things around the house, prompting his wife to lock him out of their home. Earlier that same day, he was acting out of control and was taken to a hospital. He signed himself out and returned home. When neighbors heard a disturbance, they began calling 911. While Roberts was locked out of the house, he threw items in the garage and heaved a chair across the yard. When police arrived, Roberts' wife was visibly scared and crying. He was arrested on charges of breach of peace and resisting arrest. He was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $1,500 bond. A restaurant in the Villages has secured a long-term lease for its popular outdoor venue. RJ Gators expanded outdoor seating at Lake Sumter Landing originally came about due to a social distancing concern during the COVID-19 pandemic. The outdoor space has remained enormously popular and has been enhanced with accompanying entertainment. In 2022, the RJ Gators outdoor venue was featured in the live broadcast of Fox and Friends. The restaurant has secured a 5-year lease to ensure it can continue offering the outdoor seating through November 2029. The renewal agreement is officially between the Village's operating company, which leases the space to RJ Gators, and the Sumter Landing Community Development District. Well, there you go, all you RJ Gator fans up there at Lake Sumter Landing. Your outside entertainment and seating area is procured for a few more years. A villager's son was arrested after crashing into a power pole while he was armed with a gun. Timothy Harold Barnhorst, 51, who lives with his mother at 1107 Sale Street in the village of Virginia Trace, was involved in a crash in the wee hours Thursday when his white Infiniti knocked over a power pole in Summerfield, according to the arrest report from the Marion County Sheriff's Office. A witness heard the crash and saw the driver throw something over the fence. The driver fled the scene. A deputy investigating the accident scene found and recovered a black Hi-Point C9 handgun thanks to the help from the witness. The deputy also found a bag containing a substance later identified as methamphetamine. Barnhorst returned to the scene of the crash and claimed he was looking for a gold necklace. The deputy determined that Barnhorst had been driving on a suspended license and is also a convicted felon. He was previously convicted of burglary in Marion County. He was arrested on charges of hit and run, possession of a controlled substance, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and driving while license suspended. He was booked at the Marion County Jail and released after posting a $9,000 bond. The Village has dropped a fresh video this week with an update on the newest town center under construction in
Florida's friendliest hometown.
Eastport is said to be a town center unlike any before. This week, the Village's Vice President of Sales, Jennifer Parr, hosted a new video with construction manager Brian Sellers. I've got video that I'm posting on my Patreon page where we did a golf cart ride from Brownwood all the way down to Eastport, and I went through a lot of this construction area. I know you're not supposed to, but we did anyway. And I also had lunch at the Boosters down there, and I got video of that. So Patreon members, you're going to see some more. YouTube members, you'll see it eventually, but I'm going to edit the hell out of it because on my Patreon page, I post that video totally uncut. So they see it all, every bounce, every bump. And so anyway, if you're a Patreon member, I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, villagers and those that want to be. I am the skip-proclaimed Medicare guru and bringing you a Medicare Minute here. I wanted to let you know about some things that are going on in the future. Open enrollment will be starting in mid-October. Just wanted to let you know about that. Also, what is a Medicare open enrollment? Well, it starts on the 15th of October and runs through December 7th for effective changes to go into place on January 1st. It actually gives you the opportunity to join, drop, or switch to another Medicare Advantage plan if you're in one, or if you have original Medicare and have a Part D drug plan, you can change that. Or if you have a supplement plan and a Part D drug plan, you can change during that period. You can also switch from original Medicare, which is Part A and B, to a Medicare Advantage plan, or vice versa, Medicare Advantage back to original Medicare. And like I had said before, you also can use your drug plan, evaluate it, and make a change during that period, October 15th to December 7th. What are some of the changes that are coming forth? Well, one of the great things about those of you who take Medicare prescriptions is the fact that there's a $2,000 cap in 2025. I'll get into that more as the time approaches and give you all of the changes that are going to occur. I just want to let you know we are in the business of turning frown upside down, and we hope that you reach out to us and see if there's anything we can do to help you.
Here's a long-standing article about a club that honors our veterans with quilts. I like it. 5 veterans were honored with Quilts of Valor during a ceremony this week at the Eisenhower Recreation Center. Quilts of Valor serve as homemade, personalized reminders of a grateful nation that thanks veterans for their service and sacrifice. They are presented in the company of family and friends by the Quacky Quilters. A chapter of the Quilting Guild of the Villages led by Sheila Robbins. She has coordinated the presentations and personalizations of the quilts for about 157 veterans since 2015. On each quilt is a label and comes with a presentation case and QOV certificate of journal, said Robbins to the recipients. As of today, the story of this quilt becomes your story. Sergeant Gordon Carlson joined the U.S. Marines in 1965 and had 14 combat operations in one tour. He was in the 1st Battalion, 9th Marines, known as the Walking Dead. He was wounded in action and was on the hospital ship USS Repose AH-16 for 3 months. Besides the Vietnam Service Medal, he also received a Purple Heart. Sergeant Francis Campbell joined the U.S. Marine Corps in 1964 and attended basic training on Parris Island, South Carolina, then Camp Pendleton, California. He was stationed in Da Nang, the Republic of Vietnam, for 13 months and then Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, to protect the embassy. He was a marksman in .45 caliber pistol. He received the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, National Defense Service, and Vietnam Service Medals. Captain Carl Brown joined the U.S. Marine Corps in 1963. After attending boot camp and 6 months of aviation maintenance training, he attended flight school in Florida. He served as a reservist until he started pilot training, and he was qualified to fly all the aircraft that the Marine Corps had at the time. Brown also served as a Marine Corps aviator in Vietnam, VMA 315 Squadron. His last assignment was to train officers to get combat ready for replacement of the DCOs for the Vietnam Squadron. He received his Wings of Gold in 1971. This is a yearly honor that the Navy League bestows on a top Navy pilot. Staff Sergeant Daniel McCrae joined the U.S. Army in 1974. During his initial enrollment, he served with the Military Police Corps. He deployed to Kaiserslautern, Germany in 1975 until his honorable discharge in June of 1978. McCrae had a break in service from 1978 to 1984 when he joined the U.S. Army Reserves in the Engineering Corps. From that unit, he volunteered in 1990 to serve during the Persian Gulf War. Within a month, he was assigned to a National Guard unit from Michigan and deployed to Saudi Arabia as that unit's personnel administrative specialist. As a civilian, McCrae supported veterans and their dependents in roles at the VA Medical Center from 1978 to 1997, and as a Veterans Service Officer, then director of his country's Veterans Service Office. As a result of exposure related to the Persian Gulf War, he has service-related disabilities. Master Sergeant Crystal Martin joined the U.S. Air Force in 1987 and served in various locations including Germany, Guam, Turkey, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Edwards Air Force Base, Norton's Air Force Base, and humanitarian operations. She is an OIF Iraq war veteran and served as a combat medic, specifically an aerospace medical technician. During combat, Martin processed over 400 bodies to mortuary affairs, which included women and children. This included following military procedures to photograph and identify. If you would like to nominate a fellow veteran for a Quilt of Valor, go to www.qovf.org, enter Sheila Robbins, The Villages, as the QOVF leader, and the quilt request will go to Robbins for presentation. Veterans from other states can be nominated as well. Send a copy of the confirmation to robbins2106@cfl.rr.com, and she will coordinate the request. Thank you all for your service. A villager caught urinating in a hotel parking lot blamed it on his prostate problem. A passerby stopped a Sumter County Sheriff's deputy at about 9:30 p.m. Wednesday to report seeing a man urinating in the parking lot of the Waterfront Hotel at Lake Sumter Landing. The deputy found the man, later identified as 64-year-old Richard Dennis Shoemaker of the village of Glenbrook, who was getting into a green 2002 Mazda passenger car. He initially denied he had urinated in the parking lot, but then admitted that he has prostate issues and was urinating in public public, according to the arrest report. The deputy noted the keys were in the vehicle. It was apparent that Shoemaker had been drinking, and he said he had one beer while at Lake Sumter Landing Marketplace about an hour earlier. He agreed to participate in field sobriety exercises, but was unable to maintain his balance. He claimed he has balance issues. He recited the alphabet incorrectly, despite multiple attempts. A strawberry banana beverage container found in the car was found to have vodka in it. Shoemaker provided breath samples that registered 0.108 and 0.107 blood alcohol content. He was convicted of driving under the influence in 1989 in Marion County. Shoemaker is also a convicted sex offender. He was convicted in 2005 on a charge of lewd and lascivious exhibition by an adult in Marion County. He was arrested on a charge of driving under the influence and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. He was also ticketed for the open container violation. A serial golf cart thief has avoided prison time after multiple thefts in the Villages. Jerry Michael Lay Jr., 52, who most recently made his home in a rental unit in the San Leandro Villas, has a long history of snatching golf carts in
Florida's friendliest hometown.
He was recently sentenced to time served in Sumter County after stealing golf carts at Barnes & Noble in Lake Sumter Landing and at Enterprise Rental at Lake Sumter Landing. Lay was transferred on Friday to the Lake County Jail. In that county, he is facing a charge of stealing a golf cart last year from the bowling alley at Spanish Springs. Lay has long been on the radar of local law enforcement. The golf cart theft arrests were due in part to surveillance images from strategically located cameras operated by the Villages. When law enforcement officers saw the golf cart thief in the surveillance, they knew it was Lay. He was arrested in 2019 in connection with a golf cart stolen from a hotel in Spanish Springs. He served 210 days in jail in that case. Lay was released from state prison in 2018 after a year-and-a-half sentence for theft of a motor vehicle. His first arrest came in 1988 for a theft of a motor vehicle in Broward County. So do you think his latest arrest, he's going to stop? He ain't going to stop. That's all this guy knows. And he'll do it again. It's just a matter of time. Here's a quick update, I think, on a case we reported last week. A judge has allowed a husband to return home after an alleged attack on his wife at their home in the Villages. The wife of 59-year-old Tony Black had reached out to the prosecutor's office asking that her husband be allowed to resume peaceful contact with her, according to the documents on file at Liddy Lake Court. A judge granted a motion on Friday allowing the couple to resume their living arrangement. Black had been arrested on September 27th after a neighbor heard screaming coming from the couple's home on Pebble Beach Lane in the village of Orange Blossom Gardens. And that's his update on him. He's back home where he belongs. Toast and green beans had to be discarded during an inspector's visit earlier this month to a Bob Evans restaurant in the Villages. The inspection took place October 3 at the Bob Evans restaurant at Colony Plaza. The inspector found 4 high-priority violations, 1 intermediate violation, and 2 basic violations. Come on, Bob Evans, what's going on here? The inspector found that green beans with an expiration date of October the 2nd were being reheated in a microwave, according to a report on file with the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation. The manager discarded the green beans when the inspector pointed out that the label indicated the food had passed its usable date. Another high-priority violation involved a cook who removed toast from toaster after drying his hands on an apron, but not washing his hands before touching the toast. The manager threw out the toast and talked to the cook about the importance of washing his hands. The inspector also found 15 flies in the dishwashing area. The inspector returned on October the 7th and noted a single high-priority violation. In that incident, an employee touched another employee on the shoulder and returned to cooking without requiring hand washing. I understand being safe, but some of this is like, this is crazy to me. I just can't touch him on the shoulder? Come on. Damn. If these inspectors, I swear to God, if these inspectors are allowed to go to a picnic area, we're done. We'll never be allowed to do another picnic. Here's an update on an old story. An expert witness has hinted at a new wrinkle in a fatal blow to an 87-year-old at a country club in the Villages. Those of you who've been following me, you guys remember this story. Villager Dean William Zook, 87, died in July 2023 while in hospice care at UF Health Shands Hospital in Gainesville. Zook was allegedly attacked by 76-year-old Robert Edward Moore of the village of Polo Ridge in a parking lot of Glenview Country Club. Moore was apparently enraged on the evening of June 28, 2023, when he walked out of the country club and believed that Zook's vehicle had struck his black Lexus in the parking lot. Moore allegedly began punching Zook before realizing it wasn't his Lexus. Moore is facing a charge of manslaughter. He remains free on bond. Dr. Bruce Goldberger, chief of the Division of Forensic Medicine in the Department of Pathology, Immunology, and Laboratory Medicine in the College of Medicine at the University of Florida in Gainesville, has been hired as an expert witness for the defense. In his transcripts from a sworn interview given this summer, Goldberg hinted that Zook had been drinking on the night he was attacked. The transcript was filed earlier this month in Sumter County Court. Goldberg estimated that Zook's blood alcohol level at the time of the attack was between 0.05 and 0.08. Goldberg also noted that Zook was on medication, including a blood thinner. I think probably alcohol ingestion is not recommended if you're on a blood thinner, Goldberg said in the disposition. On that fateful night at the country club, a call was placed to 911 and the deputies found Zook and his wife in the country club parking lot. The village's public safety department also responded to the scene after Zook began slurring his words and stumbled. He was transported by ambulance to UF Health, the village's hospital, then flown to UF Health Shands Hospital in Gainesville. At the time, he was unresponsive. He was placed on hospice care at Shands on July 15, 2023, and died the following day due to the trauma he sustained from being punched. Zook's alleged attacker fled the country club parking lot prior to the arrival of law enforcement. A detective tracked down the Massachusetts native thanks in part to the now infamous photo of Moore showing off his hole-in-one at Tarpon Boyle Executive Golf Course, originally published in the village's news. The detective also used surveillance images of Moore in the country club, where he bumped into a server carrying a tray of drinks, knocking a drink onto a patron sitting at the bar. Well, that's the update on that story. We'll see what happens next. Two men were arrested after a traffic stop on the historic side of the Villages. Arthur Briggs, 57, of Silver Springs, was driving a red Ford pickup at about 2:30 p.m. Sunday in the area of Dustin Drive in the village of Silver Lake when an officer noticed the vehicle had an expired registration. Briggs, who was driving on a license suspended due to a failure to pay traffic fines, was found to be in possession of 0.7 grams of methamphetamine. He was arrested on charges of possession of methamphetamine and driving while license suspended. He was booked at the Lake County Jail on a $3,500 bond. His passenger, 54-year-old Melvin Turbeville, also of Silver Springs, initially tried to lie about his identity. He was found to be in possession of drug paraphernalia. He was booked at the Lake County Jail on charges of providing a false name to law enforcement and possession of drug paraphernalia. His bond was set at $2,000. Here's another update of the Hobby Lobby incident. If you guys go back, remember that news. A villager has been sentenced after a strange incident at Hobby Lobby. George William Drake Jr., 76, of the village of Charlotte, entered a plea of no contest this past weekend at Sumter County Court to a charge of battery. He had been placed on probation for 1 year and must perform 40 hours of community service. Drake went to the Buffalo Ridge store on July 29th and said he wanted to speak to a specific employee, according to the arrest report. Hobby Lobby told Drake that no one by that name had ever worked at that particular Hobby Lobby store. Drake got aggravated and began arguing with him. Drake struck the man on the shoulder and forearm and left the store. The incident was captured on the store's video surveillance system. That's just a short, quick version of what happened. Listen up, all you snowbirds out there. The Villages wants to remind you of the pool rules. The Villages Recreation and Parks Department has issued a reminder about rules at the swimming pools as snowbirds and visitors arrive for a busy season. All eligible residents and their guests with valid guest ID cards are asked to refrain from having glass containers inside any pool area. Common sense. Throwing or tossing any objects, toys on pool decks or in the pools. Playing music too loud. Common sense. Please use headphones and earbuds. Smoking within the pool area. That's always been a rule. Designated smoking areas are outside the pool area, not leaning over the wall. I'm just making fun because I know what happens. All residents and guests are required to comply with ID requirements and ages to use the swimming pools and supporting amenities, and children should have proper approved flotation devices. Other than that, have a great time. A villager in a golf cart was apprehended with a stolen handbag and earrings, apparently taken from a hair salon at Magnolia Plaza. Emma Ennis, 39, who lives at 4511 Whittington Circle in the village of DeLuna, is facing a charge of theft following her arrest this past week in the unlawful removal of the items from Salon J. Lee. A representative of the salon contacted law enforcement suspecting that Enos had stolen the items. An officer found Enos in a golf cart in the parking lot of the shopping plaza. Enos denied stealing anything from the salon, but she agreed to walk back to the premises with the officer. She sat on a bench outside the salon while the officer went back inside and watched the video surveillance clearly showing Enos inside the salon taking the handbag. The handbag was found on the seat of her golf cart. It was also discovered that she had taken a pair of earrings. The merchandise had a total value of $312.99. I don't know, man. I don't know if people's getting any smarter. You all know that there's cameras everywhere, right? Most of us do. Okay, how about a couple letters to the editor? Villages has a very good system of managing water levels. That includes using the sprinklers to keep the excess water levels under control. All of the golf courses have been under repairs over the last year and have been alternately closed. If the golf courses are reopened now, while still waterlogged, the golfers will go back to their old ways and drive in restricted areas, not fix divots, not rake sand traps, and turn the fairways into disrepair, defeating the efforts of the villages to provide top-notch courses. That's sent in by Leonard Forsyth from the village of Alhambra. Yeah, Leonard, I believe that you're correct. We've already caught people out there golfing on closed golf courses. They're sneaking out there doing it. And this is the problem. People just don't pay attention, and on the other hand, the villages makes the rules, but they don't enforce them either. That would be Rohan, wouldn't it? Parks and Recreation? How come he's not making sure these rules are being enforced? The villages has announced the reopening of numerous golf courses in the wake of Hurricane Milton. Here's a list of some of the courses that's opening. Following courses will be open: Bacaw, Belmont, Bogart, Churchill Greens, Della Vista, Escambia, Hawks Bay, Heron, Saddlebrook, Sarasota, Southern Star, Volusia, Yankee Clipper. There's your executive courses that are open. And here's some other courses that's going to be open. This, by the time you see this, they'll already be open. Glenview, Fox Run, and Shallow Creek, Hacienda Hills, The Palms, and Mallory, Caroline. Those are the latest ones that'll be open. To the editor, just stop this ridiculous nonsense and continuous whining over the fact that golf courses are closed. My son is an ATF agent in Worcester and was temporarily assigned along with other ATF and FBI agents to areas in both Florida and North Carolina. While in Asheville, he and other agents recovered the bodies of a family who drowned and were swept downriver for 2 miles. This is not temporary, this is permanent. Soon the sun will shine, and one way or another, golf will continue. Until it does, try to think of all the families whose lives have been changed forever. Meanwhile, please stop whining and be thankful it wasn't you or your family recovered. That's sent in by Cheryl McCormick from the village of Della Vista. And we have a response to her letter, too. Cheryl McCormick, you need to get real. We can't solve all the world's problems here in the villages. North Carolina, or pretty much anywhere else in the country, or worldwide, but many help in their own way. For instance, I'm proud of how our food banks in our area are so sympathetic to those in need. Have you ever taken your butt to Asheville to help, or do you work a soup kitchen? We're in our own little bubble here. If the folks here want to be, and it rhymes with itch, about their golf courses being closed, they have every right. Golf is what many do here. They have the God-given right to speak their mind. I'll assume you or your significant other don't golf. I'll make another assumption. You're a single person who needs to get a life or not worry about what others are saying or talking about. Actually, in your thought pattern on this golf thing, it's just the tip of the iceberg. You can actually smell a liberal miles away. Good luck on election day. That's sent in by Robert Westervelt from the village of Amelia. Good one, Robert. It made me laugh. Okay, I think that's going to be the news for this week. I'm glad you guys joined me. I appreciate all the Patreon people that's joined our Patreon since the last news. It's building up to quite a family on there, and I appreciate every one of you. So if you'd like to be a Patreon member, it's easy. It's in the description box below. It'll take you right to Patreon, and once you become a Patreon member and I get notified, I will send you a link to our free Discord for members only on there, and you can ask them questions about the villages and get their opinions about things and talk about anything you want to on there. It's available to you 24/7, and there's a lot of people on there. So that's where I'll see you, though, is on Discord. And with that being said, I'm just going to get out of here and just tell everybody, enjoy the holidays coming up. Be safe when you're driving here in Florida during snowbird season. Beware of people around you. There's people that come to our squares that are here for devious reasons. Not everybody at the square lives here. And whatever you do,
don't leave your key in the golf cart.
This week's news is brought to you by my YouTube and Patreon members.